Hello and welcome to another.
Hi. Oh fuck! Sorry.
No, we're not.
No.
No.
You looked me in the eye. You were
No.
like, I'm polite. I was raised
No.
well.
We are not doing this again.
Okay. I'll just hide.
Fuck both of you. Hello and welcome to another episode of the CineBeards. I am your host, Jason Musicanth. With me, as always, are my co-hosts, Marcus Knafe.
Can I interrupt yet?
And Dion Funheerded.
Surprise!
Oh no!
That was scary.
Yeah.
With us today, we have local misanthrope, Thomas Sharp.
Hi.
You gotta be louder than that.
Hello, people.
Okay, so it's just the three of us today. Okay, so we're gonna look at some movie news from the past week or two. And we got some fairly interesting stories this week. But before we get into that, Marcus, you wanted to mention something about Thor Ragnarok?
Yes. So this could be breaking news in terms of Easter eggs, or I could be completely insane. When I was watching Thor Ragnarok for the first time last
Oh yeah,
night,
you did. I forgot to ask
Yeah.
you what you thought.
that's fine. It's like a 7 out of 10 movie.
Bullshit, but carry on.
Just straight up.
That wasn't even close to funny.
I'm not even gonna entertain the sentiment. Just fuck off.
The ship that the Asgardians.
Yes, it's-
Obviously, this is spoiler.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The ship
I
that-
know what the twist is. It's like a pale blue color.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know what that means though.
No.
That's all you said in the WhatsApp.
It was cryptic,
What I'm saying,
but
obviously,
intriguing.
this is a spoiler, so you can skip ahead if you haven't seen Thor Ragnarok
Kryptonite.
yet. But the ship the Asgardians escape on bears a striking resemblance to a ship in the Marvel comics called Scuttlebutt. To those of you who don't understand, Scuttlebutt is Beta Ray Bill's ship, the ship that houses the Corbinites.
Well, Kevin Feige did say that Beta Ray Bill was actually going to be in Thor Ragnarok.
That's my point.
wasn't his
It's-
face there at one point?
Yes, he
Yeah.
is on the Tower of
Yeah,
Champions
yeah.
as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So my theory is that the Grandmaster took a liking to Scuttlebutt and kept it in his garage, in his collection, and it was the only one big enough for Korg and them to steal, knowing or unknowing that it is Scuttlebutt.
Oh.
And Scuttlebutt is also a sentient ship.
Oh.
So that could be a nice reveal in a sort of prologue to Infinity War
Ooh.
type thing.
Very nice. Well
Like I said,
fucking
this is a
spotted.
theory. I couldn't find anyone else making this claim.
Well,
so if I'm
then
right,
if you're right,
We
fucking
said
called
it
it.
first.
We
Not just
said
Marcus,
it.
we as the CineBeards.
You heard it here first.
yeah. If I'm wrong, it's still a cool Easter egg, though.
That's freaking outstanding. Good job.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well
And
spotted.
I should also point out that I saw there that the writer of Planet Hulk really loved Thor Ragnarok.
Yes.
Really loved all the background, sort of little Easter eggs and the nods. So yeah,
Yeah, that was my thing. I hope I'm right. That would
all
be
right,
pretty great.
That was very good. It's probably a lot more interesting than anything Jason's gonna say now. So
Yeah.
you've pretty much just derailed the
Well,
podcast.
no, because the next thing is another thing that Marcus wanted to talk about, and that is the casting for Disney's The Lion King.
Yes,
live-action
you said
one.
you had
Yes.
a bone to pick, and I'm very
I
curious.
had a bone to
I actually
pick.
specifically didn't ask what it was because I want to get my live reaction to it.
I have a bone to pick, not with the cast. The cast looks strong. It's a very
So,
good cast.
What you're telling me is you have a problem with Hans Zimmer coming back.
No, I don't even have a problem with Hans Zimmer coming back or Jon Favreau directing. I have nothing against this movie
What
as
good
a
things has
concept
Jon
with the cast.
Favreau ever done?
Arguably nothing.
My
That
one,
would be not a very strong argument.
No, but it's still an argument.
Jason, stop interrupting Marcus.
my one argument is
I'm sorry.
they have to stop calling it the live action remake because the whole fucking thing is going to be CG.
That's a fair. That is actually, honestly, that was my gut reaction as well. And I thought I was just being pedantic, but that's a really good point.
It's
It's
gonna
not-
be on your guys' faces when it turns out it's just the actual actors, but with their faces painted.
I think when they say, in fairness, I mean, if you go look at something like Attack of the Clones, Was that a live action film?
Well, they were humans.
actually humans
actual
in it.
There were
humans,
humans
in it. Yes.
in it, but I mean, they are very likely to be actual animals in this and
Well,
actual locations.
Homunculi.
Yeah, and
No,
actual,
no. They actually came out and said that they're to
Full CG.
avoid. It's going to be full CG to avoid
Really?
that uncanny valley effect of between using
then
real
why
animals.
is it live action?
Why is it not just the
Exactly.
CGI
Well, yeah, why isn't it
Lion
just
King?
the new
Exactly.
No, because CGI's got a sort of a bad connotation.
Yeah.
I hate CGI. Yeah, for better
No,
or
but
worse. it's
Here's
got,
the thing: like, Jungle Book for me barely gets a pass because at least the kid was real,
yeah,
right, in that movie.
and I really enjoy Jungle Book.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
it was really good. I'm not knocking the quality of the upcoming Lion King movie. I'm sure it'll be great. I just have
Jungle Book did use a lot of live action stuff. It used a lot of the same kind of world building stuff that Avatar did.
Yes.
Where it's compositing together different things.
Yeah.
But yeah, that is strange because there are no human.
and
no,
that's my point. I know I'm being incredibly pedantic.
No, but you're right because then it isn't live action.
It's not a live
Yeah,
action
no, you're
movie.
100% right.
The remake. In fairness, has Disney actually in their actual press release called it live action remake, or is that just what the press are calling it?
Yeah,
I think
a
it's just the
marketing-
press.
Because I don't recall seeing that in official marketing materials.
I'm
could be
90%
wrong, though.
certain it's
I'll
just
check.
the press, but we'd have to
Yeah.
Well, then
check.
burn down the movie press.
Yeah.
I've been saying that for years. Fuck
'Cause
all
I-
people
I-
who talk about movies.
Because
What do they know?
because as far as I recall, I could be wrong. What I remember reading in the actual press release was the Lion King remake.
yeah.
Which is fair, because that's
Yeah,
what it is.
'cause
Yeah,
that's exactly
that's what it is, and I'm fine with that. But then
Yeah.
the movie press needs
Live
to stop
action.
pushing.
You know, I think
Live
it's also
action.
because it's falling into and coming after a series of
Yeah,
actual
it's in
live
this
action.
Yeah.
new sort of
And
reboot era of
Yeah.
Disney. But still, I mean, I feel like it's too misleading.
Yeah, no, for sure.
Yeah,
And
it is.
I think it's honestly, I think they're probably also going to go for as photorealistic as they can. I mean,
Yeah.
while the animals are still sort of speaking
As
and
they
so
did
on.
with the
Yeah.
Jungle Book. I wouldn't
I-
be surprised if they reused Jungle Book assets.
I doubt they do that, but I think they'd probably be wanting people to go in, and if you were to label it as a CGI remake or whatever, then people are going to go in and go, "Ooh, let's go see how computers are ruining cinema."
The last time I watched a CGI film, it was Final Fantasy Spirits Within, and that was trash.
Yeah, definitely. That's the Stampede in Lion King was definitely not computer done and took 2 years to make.
No,
Definitely not.
didn't, like...
Nope. Push forward.
Establish
computers-
technology.
CGI is
Digital.
trash.
Just by
Yeah.
default. I watched Mad Max and there was no CGI in that.
Yeah.
I'm sure.
I know the people that worked in that production. Hundreds of stuntmen dead.
There was
They're
dead.
all in the. They're still in the desert. They just left them
They're all
there.
dead.
Well, it is.
And I remember when they
Namibia.
made that storm with
Yeah.
Dutch Boy. Oh god.
Too soon.
Too soon. Definitely. I'm sorry. The Heath Ledger thing was fine, but that was too
That
soon.
was over the line.
Yeah, so no, I agree with you there. I think the press calling it a live action remake are doing it a disservice. But on the other hand, one thing I've discovered is that a lot of people just, if CGI is good enough, they just don't pick it up. Like, I know a lot of people who thought that, and I'm not joking, who thought that Tarkin in Rogue One was just a guy with sort of prosthetics to sort of enhance his face and makeup and so on.
That wasn't even exceptionally good.
It was actually. That's the problem. The reason it doesn't look exceptionally good is because the lighting's so different from A New Hope,
Yeah.
which does the whole process a disservice. Like if they'd stuck with that sort of that original lighting, I mean it's actually exceptionally good. It's just that he's performing across someone else. But it's also something that we'd pick up. Like, I pick up immediately that it's CG, and I can acknowledge, like, technically this is very good, but it does sort of distract me slightly. There are other people that I spoke to who literally just thought it was prosthesis. Like, which is why it looked slightly off, because, you know, it's sort of someone whose face has sort of been contoured to look like that.
Yeah.
So I think a lot of people, if you call it, not that Disney necessarily are, but if you were to call it the live action remake, they'd go in there and they'd be like, wow, you know, like, how did they do that? because a lot of people don't follow it the way we do.
They put peanut butter on the roof of the animal's mouth.
Yeah, so it looks like they're talking.
Yeah. So yeah, I don't know. I won't say I'm excited for it. I'm glad that they're getting Hans Zimmer back.
I'm
to do
glad
music.
that they're getting James Earl Jones back.
Yeah,
Yes.
I'm very happy.
Please don't die.
I am.
Please don't die.
It's probably already recorded his lines. That's probably the first thing they did.
They're just gonna take the lines from the original.
I'm a little.
They hedge their bets with recasting because, like, God forbid the worst happens, they can just take his old lines.
That's a
Yeah.
very good point.
That
And
is
then
true.
everyone will be like, "Oh, this is a beautiful homage," and they're just like, "Thank God."
What a touching rendition.
Yeah.
I'm a little sad. I don't know if I looked wrong, but I didn't see Rowan Atkinson.
No, you did not.
Who's doing
John Oliver. Zazu.
Zazu, yeah.
John Oliver.
Yeah.
I like John Oliver. Don't get me wrong. I really do like John Oliver. But I really enjoyed Rowan Atkinson.
He
first
was
time round.
perfect.
Yeah. Like I like any time that Rowan Atkinson doesn't have to do Mr. Bean or something like where they're like just be kind of like Mr. Bean but talking. Like where he actually gets to be a comedian again.
Yeah.
Like his stand-up, like his one-man shows and his Blackadder years. Like where he actually gets to do that. Like anything where he can stretch his legs like that.
Yeah.
And he brought a lot of nuance to that. So I'm a little sad. John Oliver feels kind of like the trendy choice. Because
It feels like the trendy choice, and also he kind of looks like a parrot already.
Yeah.
Like a toucan.
Yeah. He does kind of.
He does-
Again, I can't. I mean, if it was, if the original didn't exist, I'd be like, cool, John Oliver. I really like John Oliver. But I don't know. I kind of feel like if where possible, they should maybe have stuck with a lot of the original voice cast, if possible. If he could still pull it off, maybe he just wasn't interested.
Maybe.
You know, maybe
Possibly.
maybe he's just a bit older now.
But I do love the fact that they cast a lot of African American actors to play the characters now.
yeah.
It's pretty much
It's 90%
all
of the
African American
cast.
except for Timon, Pumbaa, and
Who are doing Timon and Pumbaa?
It is
Seth Rogen and not James Franco.
I was waiting for them.
No.
Billy Eichner.
I'm absolutely
no
not
idea who that
convinced by that. Like, again, I really love Seth Rogen, but I'm even less enthused about the idea of him being Pumbaa.
Yeah, I don't think he's got it.
Why
No.
did you just assume he was Pumbaa?
Because he's fat. I'm fat
You
too, I
were
can say
right.
that. It's our word. So, I don't know. Like, that, again, it just feels like that's the trendy. Again, I doubt they're going to do a bad job of it, but I also look at the Cinderella remake where there was some good stuff. Not the Cinderella, sorry, the Cinderella one was actually outstanding. The Beauty and the Beast
and the Beast.
remake,
Yeah.
which was really just mediocre. Like, that was
Bang
average, and they had the guy from the Hobbit films. I can never remember the actor's name.
Martin
Oh,
Freeman.
No,
Luke Evans.
Who shot the Black Arrow.
Oh,
Luke Evans.
Luke Evans.
He,
as Gaston.
Yeah, he was great. Like, he was fantastic, absolutely perfect in the role. Almost everything about that movie otherwise felt phoned in. They had Hermione, what's her name?
Yeah.
Hermione.
Emma Watson.
Yeah, Hermione.
That's a
Hermione's a
human
real
name.
name. Emma Watson's the character
Oh,
that she
right,
plays.
right,
Yeah, it's a stage name.
Yeah.
Oh, I
So
keep
they had
forgetting
her, and she was just really not right for the role. Beast was
No.
really badly done. The design on the teacup and the pot was just that looked like a first draft that would have got someone
Really?
fired.
I never watched it.
It's obviously, I mean, my wife is a freaking real life Disney princess. She's that's her business.
She knows her stuff.
Yeah, she absolutely knows her stuff. And even she wasn't terribly enthused. The Cinderella, as I say, Cinderella was exceptional. I really liked Jungle Book, but this just felt like not stunt casting, but again, just not great. Not casting for the role, for the film, for the good of the film with
Casting
Hermione.
for the PR.
Yeah. And the Lion King cast overall, though, is more convincing, but I'm not convinced by Seth Rogen. And personally, I would have liked to see Rowan Atkinson back, but that's just me.
I like the actors for the most part, but the one thing that I think might be a bit of a problem is voice acting is not acting. There's a lot that you need to, as an actor, portray and get across using only your words and
Well, then voice acting very much is acting.
It is, but almost
It's
a different
kind,
beast.
yeah.
And
No,
you just
no,
have
it
to
completely
rely
is.
on the animators to convey the nuance that you are portraying in your voice work.
That is
the
if
thing
they're
is you also
only
get-
doing voice capture
But I think
and
they're
not doing
doing
actual
I
performance
think they're
capture.
doing. I
Probably
think
do
it
the
is
performance capture, like Bandy Snoodle Cucumber did on
on Smoag.
on Smog.
Wow, that took so long to pass. Jesus. Yeah. So I imagine that's all going to be performance capture. But you're right. Voice acting, it's not just a transferable skill. Like, I'm a good actor, therefore I'm a good voice actor.
Yeah.
And I'm not looking forward to being distracted by, oh, this is Seth Rogen.
That is another problem.
he's also-
Maybe he surprises me. I mean, maybe he's exceptional.
Yeah, but
But-
the thing is, you're immediately going to recognize it as Seth Rogen.
Yeah.
If
and-
not from his first word, from
and
the
a lot
first
of
time he
the-
laughs.
A lot of the original cast are still doing really good work.
They are.
I don't know.
I do like the fact that Disney has actually been casting John Carney in lots of things.
Yeah.
I just wish our entertainment industry would
What
recognize
the
him.
fuck is up with that?
I
he
don't
was
know.
He was in the one of the biggest blockbusters of the fucking year
Yeah.
in Civil War. Not a peep. You know what it is? It's because he's from our theater industry, and our theater industry, I can tell you from first-hand experience, is elitist and snobbish. And anyone that actually cares enough to know who John Carney is, if you tell them, oh, he's in a Marvel film, they'll say, oh, he's sold out.
Yeah.
Not, oh wow, great, finally some recognition, and he's really.
I'm glad they're casting people like that in the big movies.
No,
now.
I'm glad he's
just,
getting what he
No, he
deserves.
should be doing theater on small stages.
Yeah.
He's selling out. So that's something that and he did the voiceover as well for the first Black Panther trailer.
Yes.
Yeah.
No mention of that, not on the news, and I mean, normally if a South African farts abroad, it's fucking front page
Front
news.
page, yeah.
Like, oh, a South African won bronze at some obscure
Sport
athletics
event.
Yeah, and it's just like, oh, it's the biggest news
Charlize
ever.
still makes the headlines.
Yeah, but she's
Yeah.
an actress.
Yeah.
Young, beautiful
So-
actress when she
so-
started out.
So basically, all of you need to respect John Carney.
Damn
Yeah.
friggin' right. I mean, he workshopped a lot of Athol Fugard's greatest plays with him.
Yeah.
And so his fingerprints are all over those. And he's in the Marvel universe, and now he's in Lion King.
Yeah.
And nobody seems to give a shit.
Oh.
He taught, sorry, I'm so bad with names.
He
It's going to become
taught,
running. Chadwick
Boseman.
Yeah.
Forza for Civil War.
And it was
That's
great.
That's ridiculously impressive.
And it's
Yeah.
just, nobody cares. I find
What
it
a joke.
so difficult.
And he helped Chadwick nail, because you can tell from another tangent, but
That's
from the
what we do,
latest
bud.
Black Panther trailer.
Yeah.
Like Chadwick has been nailing that sort of Pan-African
Yeah.
accent.
It's very much based in Xhosa,
It's very much
but
based
not
in Xhosa,
too
but
specific.
that's because John Carney taught him how to do that.
Yeah, and they've really been focusing on getting that dialect down, and it just seems like nobody here cares.
Yeah.
Where normally you'd expect something like that to be almost embarrassingly overcovered by the
Yeah.
media.
Yeah.
Like, come on, guys.
Yeah, it pisses me off.
No,
too.
I completely agree. And I think, if you look at Lebo M, who did the High Savannah.
Yes.
Like, I mean, he's been when we watched them in Germany and in Ireland, the Hans Zimmer live show. I mean, he actually comes out with his daughter.
Really?
Yeah, and they do a whole Lion King. I'll play you some of it just now. They just released the live album.
Nice.
And it is incredibly epic, but nobody seems to know or care. So damn it, South Africa, South African entertainment media, can get your fingers out of your asses.
Yeah. Stop bowing to your corporate masters and cover real artists.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
that's the funny
Yes.
thing is, like, you'd
Stop
actually
with
think
the
their corporate
advertising.
masters would be going, hey, there's these sort of venerated South African performers in a Disney production.
I can't think of a bigger corporate master than Disney.
Yeah, Disney
Yeah.
is the corporate master.
Disney is the amorphous entertainment giant that feeds us and we say thank you. So
Disney's like, hey, Coca-Cola and McDonald's, come tie my shoelaces and wipe my ass.
yes,
In
sir.
that order.
Please, sir, 3 bags
Yes.
full, sir.
In specific order.
Well, let's use that to transition into our next story
All right.
of how Disney are massive dickheads.
Disney really are I have such mixed feelings about. It's kind of like I have my feelings with Nintendo. Less so Nintendo, but yeah, where you're like, cool, Disney. I mean, look at them buying Marvel, but staying hands off, letting them create this great work. I really like what they've done with Star Wars. You know, giving Lucasfilm, because people are always talking about what Disney's influence is there.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm sorry, but Lucasfilm has
it's
been given an
Lucasfilm.
incredible amount of
Yeah,
freedom.
Exactly.
Disney's just like have more money.
Well, that's the thing, is because
And
Disney
then make us the money.
Disney
Yeah.
has all the facilities to do their marketing and their distribution and all those things in house. That's why it makes sense for them to buy companies like that. So you
Yeah.
can cut out the middlemen and make that distribution money. And so it's all this wonderful stuff. I love how they protect their IPs, but then they
tell movie cinemas that if they want to show Star Wars in their cinema, it needs to be there for a minimum of 4 weeks in their biggest theater, and instead of the usual 55% that cinemas generally take from ticket sales,
that the studio takes.
the studio takes from ticket sales, they're demanding 65%.
Yeah.
And if you remove the movie from your biggest screen at any point
Even
in time,
for what, if you just cancel one screening.
cancel one screening, it goes up from 65 to 70%.
Like actual strong arming.
Jeez.
That is
And the
pretty
thing is,
That's
savage.
like-
no,
that's like-
no cinema can say no to that because it's Star Wars Episode 8.
Yeah, they absolutely can't. There's a few. I know. I read that there's some
Is there-
rural cinemas, you know, where they maybe just have one screen or two screens, where they might actually just pass on it altogether, because it's
Yeah.
literally a case of, cool, we have one screen. If we show The Last Jedi for 4 weeks, everyone who wants to see it in this town is going to see it in the first week or two. Then we're going to have 2 weeks of empty screens,
Yeah.
and it's literally going to ruin our business. So we may as well not show it.
Which
I
in
did-
turn is going to ruin their business.
Yeah.
I did not read the story, so just for clarity's sake, they are Disney only strong arming US cinema chains, or is this
As far as I
global?
that,
As
well,
far
from
as
what
I
I read,
know,
it's
it's
a US.
worldwide.
Oh, is it?
I think it's a worldwide thing. I'll double check.
Good God.
Because
I
I
don't-
know South
'cause-
Africa's got different deals, and I know that for a lot of our blockbuster films, the cinema actually gives 100% of the ticket sales. They're basically just hoping that
The popcorn and
the popcorn sales, and that the headline, sort of the blockbuster film, will be sold out to the point where people will trickle into the other films. A lot of the big studios have those deals with our smaller cinemas with less bargaining power.
That is as scary as Valve and like game distribution.
What's scary about Valve and game distribution?
Oh, didn't you know they like if your game is on Steam, they take 30%
Yes, I
off
know.
the sale, off the top. That's
I
it.
have stuff on Steam.
Yeah.
That's fine. The thing is that makes sense, because basically by having your game on Steam, it's put in front of an audience of millions. Instead of being in some sort of retail store, the 30% of Steam is actually not that bad. If you weigh up, there's a lot of people who just would not have careers. A lot of studios would not exist if it wasn't for that sort of centralized. Trust me, game developers, a lot of them will bitch about it, but all of them will acknowledge that there's a very good chance that if they had a breakout game, it would not have been able to happen without Steam, and especially Steam Early Access.
Really?
Yeah. Because a lot of them don't have the money to finish development of their game. So they can only do the first 6 months or a year, and they can put it on Steam Early Access and have the rest of it funded. That's nothing compared to something like a record label who takes who takes
95%.
yeah, well, who you pay back, you get 10%, but you use that 10% to pay back every cent they invested. So that's why you have someone like 30 Seconds to Mars, who went on tour, headlining tour, multi-platinum album, toured the world, sold out shows across the world, got back and owed their record label $1 million. Because if their record label invested 10 million and they made back 9 with their 10% note,
Yeah.
so the record label would have made 90. If they just made 9 with their 10%, they would still owe $1 million.
That's
So by that, but
disgusting.
honestly, at that, like Steam, I wouldn't compare so much. Steam has its issues, definitely, but in that regard, I'm totally on board with them.
I couldn't find here whether or not it was worldwide or just local. So
Yeah, that's the thing.
for the sake of accuracy, let's just
Yeah,
assume
so
it's
we-
only US theaters.
Yeah, I usually, if they don't specifically say worldwide, I assume US. Because, for instance, if you read any article where they say a film made this much at the box office,
It's
Assume
generally-
US sales.
assume US, because sometimes you'll look at sales figures for consoles. It's like, oh, this sold, the PS4 only sold this many in the last year. It's like, that doesn't seem
That
right.
sounds impossible.
That doesn't seem right. And you go look somewhere else, like, oh no, that was the US.
Yeah, because the US is Xbox country.
Xbox country.
Yeah, that's true. Not anymore.
No, but yeah, so
But yeah, so
that's
the
still-
scary
that's-
thing is though that this is setting a new precedent because
Of the
Disney,
United States.
the president of the United States. That's why they can do this.
Yeah.
They're the president of the goddamn United States.
Too soon.
Okay. You'll get all these jokes on Thursday when the Geostorm special comes out. I promise you guys that.
Hey, but you're right, it is setting a precedent.
Yeah, and the thing is, Disney owns all the Marvel shit as well, and a monopoly at the moment in terms of cinematic big hitters.
Yeah. I mean, we said
You
we looked
could-
at
you
the
could-
the
you
top
could-
10 of last year and how many are Disney
Yeah,
properties.
all
It's crazy.
the top 5 out of the top 5 were Disney last year.
Good lord.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, this is the thing.
So the thing is, if they start demanding this, cinemas can't say no because
Yeah.
those are their highest-selling movies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
And that's scary, and that's all that does. It's a vicious cycle, and it's so anti-consumer, and it's so bad in the long term because you start cutting. Cinemas start getting less revenue from the films. Then
They gotta push their
people
ticket prices
they gotta
up,
push the
less
ticket
people
prices
go.
up. Got to push the popcorn and the soda prices up, which people already
No, but
hate.
they won't push up the ticket prices because that percentage that they have to pay back goes.
Yeah,
but
yeah, but
still,
if you- but if-
30% of
60
$10 is more than 30% of $8.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, so pushing up the ticket price to make up that difference. I mean, they have to make their bottom line to pay staff and for maintenance and stuff. So they physically have to get enough money in.
And
Yeah,
the problem,
it's strange that Disney is sabotaging the thing that's making them the most money.
That's the thing. It's long term. I can't imagine that being sustainable because eventually you're going to have cinema chains either unionizing, which I can't imagine in the US. Here that it's so commonplace, but in the US, I can't imagine happening. But something to that effect, or just attendance dropping, and then you could do the EA thing and try and
Put microtransactions in our
yeah,
movies.
try and suck the last of the lifeblood out of it while you can,
yeah.
or take a step back and say, hey, let's try and keep cinema chains alive.
Or they're hoping to kill off some of the smaller cinema chains, swoop in, buy them.
And then franchise a Disney
That
sort of
is
multiplex
not actually
cinema.
out of. I mean, if you look
Yeah.
at what they're doing in the streaming realm, where they're pulling all their content from Netflix,
From Netflix and Hulu and wherever.
that makes. I mean,
It-
that
it
actually
makes business
that's
sense.
actually the best theory I've heard.
It makes business
do-
sense for Disney to open their own cinema chains.
No,
It's
then
like-
everything's in house.
It's like in 30 Rock, where Jack Donaghy realizes that the only part of the TV viewing process they don't own is the couch.
Yeah.
So they're going to make their own couches
Yes.
to sell to the people that watch their TV shows. That makes actually. I'm actually surprised that hasn't happened already. Now that you say it.
Yeah.
Oh damn it, Marcus! Maybe
you
they
know-
hadn't thought of it.
Do you
Oh,
know
no.
why it might not have happened? Maybe because of the way that American monopoly laws work. Maybe there has to be a third-party interim showing the film. Maybe they can't legally own the place that is showing the film and screening the film, and they own the film, and they own the rights, and.
But
and.
another
They could
company
part-
owned by the same executives can.
Now that
Yeah,
sounds
they
like a
could-
loophole to me.
They could definitely part own it.
Um,
It's like all Warner Brothers owning a large percentage of Rotten Tomatoes.
Yeah.
A fat load of good that's done them.
Almost nothing.
yeah, but the thing is, like,
So they're the
We
so
could
Warner
just-
Brothers are taking bribes from Disney.
Who'd have thunk it?
the thing is, like, I don't want to get political, but with Trump in office, all bets are off business-wise.
100%. You
Yeah.
are
Like-
right.
Yeah. Honestly, like I don't think even Trump. I think that's just the U.S.
That's just the
Yeah,
spirit of America.
That's pretty
is.
much like I don't even think Trump like they don't need to reform laws. Disney's lawyers have been reforming laws for years.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Like
America
copyright and
operates on the system of use your wallet to crush the little guys.
That's why they've constantly got extensions on the copyright to Steamboat Willie.
Yes.
by extension Mickey Mouse. And I mean, copyright law, they basically have the entirety of copyright law reformed to suit themselves and
Which is
everyone
a
else be
terrifying
damned.
prospect.
Yeah, which is true.
Yeah.
And they've been doing that for years.
So yeah.
So yeah, that is really scary because the cinema going experience, and we've discussed this before, it may have been in an unaired pilot though, has been getting progressively, I know in the US particularly, less and less pleasant. Here we at least still very often, I'll still very often go through an entire film without someone on their cell phone. But from what I hear from friends in the US is that
That's rarity.
yeah, that's rare. It's rowdy. People don't give a
It's
shit.
Very true.
People are talking on their phone. So if you already have a pretty unpleasant experience, and now it's just going to get more and more and more expensive to feed Disney's hunger for money, you know, you're just going to have people not going to the cinema anymore. Maybe that's just a way for them to drive people out of the cinemas into their streaming business.
Maybe. I mean, it wouldn't surprise me that in a couple of years, let's say 10 years, right? 10 years, like cinemas in the US are mostly just your mom and pop cinemas left. You know, no, the big chains are dead because they couldn't afford everything. Disney will just premiere their biggest movie, like, on their streaming service. Be like, it's available now.
Nope, because premiering something on a streaming service, you'll bring in extra
talking
subscribers.
I'm
but
talking a decade from now, and
I honestly, actually, I think it's the opposite. I think all the mom and pop cinemas are going to be dead.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And it's
absolutely.
only going to be the big chains. It's not like Blockbuster or anything where new technology is subsuming it. I think it's a case of only the biggest ones who can cut these deals, who have staffs that they can sort of pay less, who can basically cut corners that will ultimately
enter
survive.
some
Because what's going to happen is you're going to have the mom and pop ones disappearing. The smaller chains are going to falter because they don't have the capital. They're going to buy up those smaller chains, and it's basically just going to become like Walmart, something like that.
Yeah.
Well, we'll talk in 10 years and we'll see
Yeah.
who won this bet.
yeah.
Bet now
Okay,
at home,
$50
folks.
bucks.
Yeah.
Bet now at home.
Betting lines are open if you call
All right,
now.
SMS 184732 if you agree with Dion, and go fuck yourself if you agree with Marcus.
And make us-
It's just you going with your fingers in the shape of a phone next to your ear, and you're holding up the numbers.
Oh god! I'll get you guys a TV spot.
Hooray.
Yeah, no, but it's
So yeah, Disney, that's really, it's not unsurprising, but it's always disappointing when you see the business side poking its ugly head out.
never meet your heroes, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Unless it's Eric Adams. Eric Adams was great.
Oh, shut up. Look at me, I'm Dion. I'm Eric Adams.
Lucky you. Wait, you're me!
Good god.
Okay, yeah. So we're all in agreement on how terrifying that is.
Yes.
Yeah, it's terrifying and it makes me sad. And it makes me worry about the future of...
Pretty much my favorite, one of my favorite things.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it opens the door to all the other cinemas.
Oh,
All
yeah.
the other production houses. Right?
Yeah, that's the thing is now...
You better be sure WB is gonna get in on this action.
Oh, you guys have to give us 65%
Million
of
percent.
the percent of the income, or we're not gonna let you show Suicide Squad 2.
The Suicide Squadiers.
Like, whoops, that backfired.
Suicide Squad.
We won an Oscar. That's the byline. That's
No, we won an Oscar. Fuck you.
I just want a film about
Star Trek.
someone starting to do like CrossFit training. And they're like, I'm gonna get a superhero body even if it kills me, and then they die doing it, and you can call it Suicide Squad.
I think that might be an Asylum movie already. I'll double check my archive, but
Okay, so staying in the world of superheroes,
Right, that's where I like to be.
Wonder Woman is now the highest grossing superhero origin movie ever.
Nice. It deserves it. Except for the last
Yay.
15 minutes, it deserves it.
Yeah.
No, not the last 15 minutes. The 15 minutes near the end, but not the last, like, 4 minutes.
It's
Yeah.
10 minutes, not 15.
the final boss
Yeah.
The
battle.
final
Yeah, the
boss
final
fight,
boss
that
fight.
level sucked.
Yeah.
Oh, that level
The rest of the
really
game was
sucked.
great.
I mean,
Like,
he had
I
two
wish-
phases and they were both trash.
Like, I wish I could buy some DLC to change that boss
Where's
fight.
my loot box?
Yeah. No, that was, I think it deserves it, and it's good. It sets a good precedent. You've got a female superhero, a female director of a superhero film. If that could stop being an anomaly now, that would be great.
Yeah.
If that could
Yeah.
just be like one of the things that just happens,
And nobody raises a
And
furore
it's
about
yeah.
it.
All right, what's next?
Next, well, we shot through that one pretty quickly.
Oh well, I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's just good news, and we're
yeah, it's
happy.
just really
It's
good
good.
news.
I'm
so
very
we're
very happy.
It's good news, handshakes all around.
Tyrese Gibson is a bitchy. So there was the whole spat between Tyrese Gibson
And himself.
Rock the Dwayne Johnson.
No. Himself.
Yeah.
Well, theoretically, Rock the Dwayne Johnson.
Yeah.
Unconfirmed.
Unconfirmed.
He kept tagging
he was shadow boxing with the Rock.
Yeah, he kept tagging The Rock, and The Rock was just like, radio silence. I don't even
Yeah.
think he checked his
So-
Instagram.
So basically, Tyrese has been throwing his toys out the cart, as we mentioned a couple episodes back about the Rock and Statham team up movie in the Fast and Furious universe. He's like,
Yes.
oh my god, how am I supposed to survive off the 18 million that I have from the other Fast and Furious movies?
Yeah. It's tough.
It's tough.
It's really tough.
So he's been all pissy about that with The Rock. And a couple days ago, he sent out this Instagram post where he was like, look, if The Rock comes to Fast and Furious 9, I'm not going to be there. Essentially saying, hey, if your most bankable star returns to this movie, your most expendable character is out of there.
Yeah.
What do you say
And also,
to that?
it also makes very little sense because if The Rock is in, so he's angry with The Rock for doing a spin-off film, right?
Yeah.
Because
Yes.
the spin-off film is gonna postpone Fast and the Furious 9,
In
presumably.
Tyrese's opinion,
So-
yes, but
No,
it has been. No, it has been.
I'm talking from his opinion specifically.
Okay, fine.
Yeah.
It's gonna delay Fast and the Furious 9 and his paycheck.
Yes.
Right.
And Tyrese is all about
But it's
that
still gonna
paycheck.
happen. It's just gonna delay it, right?
Yes.
So what he wants is the star of the film to not return, making the film less bankable and less likely to succeed.
Correct.
So that's what he wants, right?
Yeah.
So rather than having the film delayed, he wants the film to fail.
Yes, of course.
Okay. All right. I'm just
Well,
checking.
you know, he has
Yeah.
to be right.
Yeah, obviously. That sounds
Well,
sane.
I just imagine in Tyrese's mind, the fans want him there more than they want The Rock there.
Well, I mean, it's Tyrese.
It's
He's
all,
been around since number 2,
it's all about
guys.
family.
Yeah.
It's all about family. We're all supposed to be in this together, so The Rock can't play.
Yeah.
I mean, Tyrese is so bankable. He did such great work in Transformers.
Oof, that is a low blow. You can't kick a man when he's down like that.
Yeah.
Yes, I can, and I will.
Yeah, but then 2 days after that, he released another Instagram post saying, hey, I've talked to some of The Rock's associates, or one of The Rock's associates,
Their associates rocked up at my house.
and I'm very
with
sorry
bats.
for the things that I've done said. No, he actually didn't apologize. He just
No.
said, look, this is how things are right now.
Yeah, this is how things are, and I guess I'm fine with it. You know, but you could, like...
Like a
Yeah,
snotty
it's like
kid whose
begrudgingly.
parents have told him that he has to apologize.
Yeah.
Which, in this situation, the parents would most likely be his agent.
Yep, pretty much. It's like your options, The Rock's options.
Make several $1 million
It's just
over
like-
Fast
it's
and
just
Furious
like-
9 in 2020, or make nothing.
They're like, his agent just looked at him and he said, okay, Tyrese, just look at this Venn diagram, right? You can see it in the legend here, the blue circle is people who like The Rock, and the red circle is people who like you. You'll note there's only one circle on this page.
And then Tyrese didn't understand. And
Because he's
asked for
colorblind. It
Yeah.
was really insensitive.
Yeah,
but-
wow,
But the
what-
point stands.
He's
Clearly
done fighting
somebody-
with himself now.
Somebody
Yeah.
immediately spotted that
Yeah,
it was a
just
bad
like,
decision.
"Whoa!"
And it took 2 days to convince Tyrese that it was.
Possibly
Basically,
some...
he was just, they locked him in his room, and like once he was all tuckered out, screaming.
After he was done
I like-
beating the floor and crying
I
and
like to
rolling.
think that Venn diagram came to him immediately, and he took 2 days to work it out, like put it up on this idea board with red
strings.
cotton going from all the corners connecting
Scanned
it.
it into a computer.
Printed
made a
out
3D
photos.
model.
Equals
Stuck
MC
them-
squared on the side, and he's just thinking.
And eventually he's like, whoa. To Instagram.
No.
Oh man, that's sad.
Although, to be fair, there is one instance where Tyrese could legitimately be cross with The Rock. Because The Rock did at one point in the last year, because Tyrese had released an album in this past calendar year, I believe. Yeah. The Rock was like, on Instagram, a video, someone was saying, it was like, Tyrese, I listened to your album and it's like garbage. I just wasted my time, motherfucker.
Well, he's not wrong in that assessment. Have
No,
you
yeah.
heard, have you heard the album?
That's not a nice thing to do, granted.
Yeah,
but it's also a fair thing.
It's also
to do.
completely objective.
Do you expect The Rock to lie? We've got to trust The Rock.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
about
damn.
family.
The Rock
Yeah.
and his twin brother Dwayne Johnson.
Yes.
Never
They're,
less
I hear
spotted.
they're both running for president in 2020.
No, they're not.
It's just one of them.
Neither of them. That's the sense. Oh, only one.
Oh. Dang it! I thought
Imagine
it
a
could have been
presidency
president
of
and vice president.
of The Rock.
Yeah.
To the rocks. It's like North
This
Korea just looks
administration
at them.
is on the rocks.
Is his twin just the hard place?
Oh, fuck off.
No, Hard Place is the black sheep of the family. Don't say-
Wow, that's racist.
that's actually Tyrese.
Ooh. So anyway,
Yeah,
what
no,
else?
that's like, that would actually be a fantastic remake, like all black remake of Twins.
What, The Rock and Tyrese?
Yeah, that would be amazing.
You know just as well as I do that they would make it with The Rock and Kevin Hart.
Yeah.
No.
And Kevin
no.
Hart
What
is
I know
cancelled.
for a
Kevin
fact,
Hart can just
what
go
I know for a
die.
fact is that film has actually been greenlit and is in development. The actual sequel to Twins.
Why do you
with
lie
the
to us?
original cast.
Oh. Okay.
Probably about a year or two ago, so I'm not sure where it is now, but I know at one no.
In
the
development
void.
hell.
No. Development's a long process, but I know for a fact that Danny DeVito and Schwarzenegger both said that it's a go,
That's pretty
and
cool.
that they're reviewing
Well,
scripts, which is terrifying.
That is positive.
Yeah.
Really terrifying.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I mean, it was
It's net positive.
it was
okay?
strange and off-putting when they were more or less in what passed for DeVito's prime. Now it's just
Sad.
I always thought DeVito's prime was during his time on It's Always Sunny.
No,
Because I really love him in It's
Okay,
Always Sunny.
but how much of that was acting?
I don't know. I'm
I
just
don't
saying
think
he
he
wasn't at
realizes
his
that he's in a
prime.
TV show.
No, I think that was all DeVito.
Does he get really confused when he sees like Charlie Day and them in the streets
Yeah.
and they don't act like they're Always Sunny characters?
He must be so. When he watched Pacific
Oh.
Rim, he must have been so confused.
Okay, here we go. Firstly, what I need you to do now is guess what the title of the sequel film is.
Triplets.
Yes.
The fact that we got it in one is a horrible sign.
After years of teasing the project, Schwarzenegger says Triplets, the sequel to the hit 1988 comedy Twins, with Danny DeVito with Schwarzenegger and Danny DeVito's twins, who are separated at birth, will begin shooting in 2018. And this
Who's
was
the triplet?
a
Who's the
month
th-
ago.
Who's
a
the
month
third
ago.
one?
Because nothing ages
Well, that's
timelessly
obviously
like
it's obviously
80s
gonna
comedy.
be it's obviously gonna be
Kevin Hart.
a
Tyrese
woman.
Gibson.
It's obviously gonna be a woman. And she's going to be inappropriately aged, and they're going to somehow try and explain that away.
Is it gonna be Adam Sandler as a woman?
I'm just going to go kill myself now.
it's gonna be like in The Mummy where Russell Crowe says to Tom Cruise, who is 2 years older than him, "I'm gonna leave it to young men like you."
Actual line from the movie.
In fairness, Russell Crowe has not aged as well as Tom Cruise.
No, but
No,
that's
it's
because he
hasn't
doesn't
really
have
bothered to spend money on looking
That's
good.
because he's
And 'cause he
making
doesn't have
music and
the
writing
power.
songs and fighting around the world.
and because he doesn't have the power of what's the
Scientology.
Supreme Galactic Overlord's name?
Xenu.
Xenu. Yeah, he doesn't
Yeah.
have Xenu reinforcing him with
Xenu
the
face
souls
cream.
of dead children.
Yeah,
That's how
Xenu face
Scientology
cream.
works, right?
Yeah.
If the third kid in Triplets is a woman, as you
Yeah.
say, I would like it to be played by Helen Mirren.
That would be outstanding. That would
great.
actually be properly outstanding.
That would be quite something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That'd be great.
I'm not sure what, but it would
I
be
mean,
something.
her little cameo in Fast 9 was pretty great.
Yeah. She's just great in everything.
Yeah, no, that is actually true. Yeah, she's just great in everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Unreservedly.
Yeah.
Like, nothing can't be made better by adding Helen
By adding
Mirren.
Helen
Yeah.
Mirren.
Yeah.
She's like the salt of the music
like hot
of the movie
mustard.
industry.
Man, I wish she was in Geostorm.
No, I wouldn't wish
She
that
played
upon
the
her.
satellite.
Satellite mocap by him.
know what would be funny? She would get a fucking Oscar for
She
that.
would.
And Andy
goddamn
Serkis would be in the corner being like, God damn
One of
it.
these days, it's gonna be me.
That's going to be the worst. Is one day there's going to be another breakout performance for like a performance capture performance,
Yeah.
and someone's going to win an Oscar, and it won't be Andy Serkis, and it will be so sad.
Just gonna put a gun
Or it's going to
against
be
his
like the original Tron, which was disqualified
head. Yes.
from the special effects category, which would
it-
definitely have won
'cause
because
it
it was
used-
cheating by using computers.
No, well, the same thing happened.
What?
The original
yeah,
Tron
it
was
was
nominated
disqualified.
for an Oscar, but disqualified because it was seen as cheating that they'd used computers for their special effects.
Something similar happened with 2001: A Space Odyssey, if I recall.
don't know about
There was controversy at the Oscars because the special effects of it was the men in the ape
Yeah?
suits. They were like, no, those are real monkeys. They're like, no, they're actors. No, those are real monkeys. So they would
Or like the court case around Cannibal Holocaust.
yes,
Where
yeah.
they're like, no, these are real murders that you're showing. It's like, no, those are like monkey.
Prove
monkeys.
it.
It's like, oh shit.
Yeah, and it was hard too because all of the actors had signed NDAs that they wouldn't like appear in public or promote the movie for a year.
I had wondered why there was a court case. Like,
Yeah.
prove these actors aren't dead. I could just call them.
Yeah, no, they actually signed a contract that they wouldn't appear in public for a year until after the movie was released.
That's
Well,
an effective.
In fairness,
marketing
conspiracies would still be flying. I mean, there's
Absolutely.
still people who believe that Paul McCartney died in the 60s and was replaced with a lookalike who also happened to be left-handed golden voice and an incredible songwriter and bassist.
Coincidentally,
And
also
looked
called
exactly
Paul
like
McCartney.
him. And also,
What
Paul
a
McCartney,
coinkydink.
and despite all his obvious talent, nobody missed him in his in his old life.
The one that really the one that really holds water is the one where Avril Lavigne actually died in 2003 and was replaced by a lookalike, and no one noticed.
No one noticed, and also the lookalike's family didn't notice
No.
that their daughter / sister / friend was suddenly.
Oh no
in
no
the
no!
place
Both
of some-
families are in on it, you see, because they keep getting.
It's all part of the
money.
conspiracy,
families
man.
and is Avril Lavigne really making that much money though?
She released an album 3 years ago.
to
I
keep
believe.
the immediate family and all the extended family and all the friends and high school friends and teachers and pretty much the millions of other people who are at least 1 or 2 degrees of separation from her quiet.
Yes.
Oh wow, she must be loaded.
When the reptilian overlords set their sights on a conspiracy,
Like they make
They
it
go.
happen.
Yeah.
They make
They
that
go.
shit happen.
Also, I'm pretty sure she earned a lot of money with Skater Boy.
I mean, it was a creative masterpiece. Did you
It
read
definitely
that?
earned a lot of money, but definitely not pay off thousands of people for decades
No.
kind of money. To what end as well?
There's a Twitter thread. I'll send it to you, and you will laugh your fucking head off.
To what end?
Okay, so the story, basically what we're saying is
Where were we again?
Tyrese isn't smart, and it was funny for everybody involved except him.
Yes.
Yeah. All right, I just checked. So Triplets is starting to shoot next year, right? With Schwarzenegger and DeVito both back. I speculated the triplet, the third one, might be played by a woman. You suggested Helen Mirren. It's in fact not Helen Mirren.
Don't tell me
Guess-
it's Jennifer Lawrence.
No. Guess
thank
who
God.
is
Oh, thank God.
playing?
Oh, thank God.
Who is playing the third sibling?
Who?
The triplet.
Sigourney Weaver?
No. I will give you a clue. It's a man.
Adam Sandler.
I thought you was gonna say Sigourney.
Angela Lansbury.
Okay. It's fucking Eddie Murphy.
No, fuck off.
Dead serious.
I'm done. I'm fucking done with movies. I'm
Movies
done with
are
movies.
getting worse.
Screw our third. Screw the.
Yeah,
the
I'm
long
going.
boots
I'm
or-
going. Like,
It's done.
no,
I'm
no,
done.
no. Fuck this. I want to go play Wolfenstein now. I'm walking home.
So that is the thing that is actually happening.
You're taking the piss, right?
No,
This
I'm
is like
dead.
a really long gag that you.
I'm complete. Hey, name your sex tape. I'm
You know it.
completely and utterly serious.
That is probably the worst news that has happened this year.
sentence in that paragraph.
There will be a third brother played by Eddie Murphy. Oh,
Yeah.
thank God. I thought you said it was going to be a sister. That's slightly less bad.
How is that? How is that not bad?
I said it's gonna be a man. I never said it's gonna be a sister.
Yeah, but I assumed it was gonna
Yeah,
be
so
like
the
a
third-
Adam
I said
Sandler
that-
Yeah,
situation.
I was
said
in the same boat as Jason. I thought Eddie
Oh.
Murphy was gonna be playing a woman playing the
Oh
third
no!
triplets. I
Oh my
thought
god! Like the
Nutty
clubs.
like the yeah.
Like, whoa, whatever.
Like
whatever.
I almost
every-
said the Trumps.
like the Tyler
like
Perry
any,
films,
any
like-
Eddie Murphy film, really.
Yeah. Oh my god! Imagine that.
No.
Oh no, you didn't! Oh my god!
No,
it's fucking
please.
painful.
No, if they wanted to do that, they would get Tyler Perry these days over Eddie Murphy.
He's too established as his Tyler Perry.
Yeah, as Medea.
Yeah. Well, I
Yeah.
think it kind of makes sense thematically with the rest, because in the first one it was, you know, one sort of really strong and toned, the other one sort of really short and fat, and it's all like, what? How could we possibly be twins? And now you've got one coming in, who's basically bald at this point, so it's also the same kind of thing.
Yeah, it's,
You know-
it's really weird.
Yeah.
It's a weird sort of trait.
I don't
That,
see how
that
they can-
neither one of the two. No, but Danny DeVito is bald, so I don't think they would go with.
Oh, they probably wouldn't go with that angle.
Bald.
Oh, they'd be like, oh, you were actually a cast member on SNL for several years. That's so weird.
Yeah.
How could we possibly be related? We were never permanent cast
SNL.
members on SNL.
That must be it. That must be
Yeah,
the
that's
gag.
probably gonna
That's
be
definitely
the...
where the majority of the jokes are gonna come
That
from.
definitely.
Definitely.
Like, oh, why didn't you go talk to Lord Michaels? Huh? Why don't you go talk to him about it? Ha ha ha!
Classic.
And everyone's gonna be like, oh,
Why
my
don't
God.
you call your best buddy Bobby Moynihan?
Yeah,
Man, what a knee slapper.
that would just be amazing. Like,
Such a deep, rich mine of
oh, so
comedy
you,
there.
so you come
Untapped.
from a place that has launched many careers.
Okay.
Hey, did you ever
I am-
meet
I am
Dan
a-
Actually, we
Aykroyd,
should
huh?
we should stop giving away all the jokes
Yeah,
before
I
people
mean-
watch the film.
Yeah, I'm officially taking back my statement that I'm not too worried about it.
The
This is now
worrying has
a
escalated.
devastating blow to the world of cinema.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's move along. Do we stick with Warner Brothers? Yeah, actually, yeah.
All right.
Okay, so Henry Cavill,
Who?
He's an actor.
mustache,
Allegedly.
Superman.
Oh, the guy that's got the moustache, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, the guy with the mustache. You know Henry Cavill?
Yeah, yeah.
Mustache,
Yeah,
The really
Yeah, handsome
expensive
man.
special effects Superman.
Yeah, he was throwing some shade on WB's DC Universe.
Yeah, I saw that.
Is
And
he-
he basically went as far as he could without
Getting
sort of-
fired.
yeah,
Yeah.
basically
Yeah.
without
Because
sort
you-
of jeopardizing it or going against his contract.
Yeah, 'cause you have to
the
talk
gist
him up.
of what he said though was that WB and DC did superheroes wrong.
What I like about how he phrased it is it's not even that he's just outright criticizing how Warner Bros. Have done it. I think what he's doing is, I think he, like a lot of people, are tired of the whole DC Marvel rivalry thing. Like, which
Yeah.
one are you into? Like, you can only be into one. I mean, now that we've got Wonder Woman, I quite like Man of Steel. It's not on the same
Well, I've
league,
got
but
the-
you
No,
know,
but
like
it's not.
yeah.
You don't want to put a gun against your head.
and
after
say
you
like,
watch it.
are you Marvel or are you DC? You know, it's that whole Xbox, PlayStation 4
Yeah.
thing. Like, I think a lot of the people involved get really tired of it, and I like the fact that he says, "Listen, our film's failing has got nothing to do with Marvel."
Yeah, I've
because
got
obviously
the-
a lot
I've
of
got
people
the
are saying,
exact quote
"Oh,
here.
critics just want." A lot of fans say, you know, critics just want the Marvel films now. That's why they rate the DC films badly. So what's the actual quote?
Even if Marvel didn't exist, we'd struggle. There was a style they were going for, an attempt to be different, to look at things from a slightly different perspective, which hasn't necessarily worked. Yes, it has made money, but it's not been a critical success. It hasn't given everyone that sensation which superheroes should give the viewer. I feel like now the right mistakes have been made, and they haven't been pandered to, and we can start telling the stories in the way that they need to be told. It is even better to come back from a mistake or stylistic error into the correct vein because it will make it seem that much stronger. Wonder Woman was the first step in the right direction.
I really like that.
That's a
I think
good
that's
quote.
really eloquent, and it touches on
He's-
pretty much all my issues.
Yeah, he's great on all the interviews though. Even in the BVS interviews, he was super.
And
Like,
Yeah, he didn't sit
diplomatic
there. He
about it
didn't. He
and-
didn't sit there and look sad like poor Ben Affleck.
My only slight worry, slight concern, is how much does this apply to Justice League, which is something that I know it had reshoots, but it was road mapped out.
And the
Apparently,
reshoots were
ze-
very tight too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
apparently zero. Like we are still getting from every like the WB press machine has been in such heavy gear trying to beat it into everyone that this is still Zack Snyder's Justice League.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
God
that's-
knows
it's
why.
very
Yeah,
odd.
that is not reassuring.
Like God knows
No.
why they're doing it, but that's what they're doing.
I think it's because they know they've got a fan war. Like it's the same thing, but where Sony and Microsoft stoke that. Like they actively
Yeah, like,
stoke
ha,
that
ha, ha.
fire. You know, separating people into camps is a good way to have loyalty. I think a lot of the film guys are very tired of it.
Yeah, and that's what that quote sounds like. That just sounds like somebody who's in a franchise who's just tired.
Yeah, and I think the Warner, I don't think Warner Brothers get it quite as much. Like from what you're saying, that they're hammering home like it's still Zack Snyder's film, because I think they're worried that if they acknowledge like, hey, you know, it's been sort of reworked a bit and we learned from our mistakes and we've done all these things, they're gonna think, oh, they're just gonna slap jokes in there. Mickey Mouse strikes again.
It's just gonna be just like Marvel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think I feel really bad for people like Henry Cavill who are in he is currently in inferior films and he knows they
Yes.
can be better. And DC has objectively the better A-listers that it can draw on for its films. Like in terms of characters, Marvel's having to make do with B and C characters that it's elevating.
Yeah.
DC has guaranteed hitters everywhere.
Yeah, they've got their full Justice League pantheon.
Yeah,
Exactly.
And I think it must be frustrating for him to not be able to be too critical of the films, because anytime you're critical of DC, people are saying, oh, well, if a critic doesn't like it or a person doesn't like it, it's only because they want the Marvel thing. So it's good that he's coming out and saying, listen, it's got nothing to do with Marvel. We just didn't nail these characters.
We just missed the mark.
yeah,
That's
we
the
didn't
bottom
give,
line.
and I like what he says about it doesn't give you the feeling superhero films should give you.
Yeah.
And that's superhero films they're power fantasy, they're escapism.
And they're meant to make you feel hopeful.
Yeah.
Not like, oh man, the world's such a horrible place. I'm so sad.
Yeah,
and
like
moody.
Superman,
But the
like
world is a
like
horrible
your
place.
Yeah,
your
but that's
your,
why they're supposed to not make you feel
your
that, I
power
suppose.
your power is a burden and then you die.
Yay!
And then sand floats above your grave.
That sounds like a win. What could that mean?
It's that they're gonna start the film like that with that sand floating, and then
Yeah.
like it's just gonna be someone like with a
With a-
leaf
with a-
blower,
a
like
vacuum
oh,
cleaner."
I'm so sorry, like sorry, I didn't know you guys were still busy with.
Sorry,
the
I'm so
funeral.
embarrassed. I'll just leave.
It's really embarrassing. Yeah, I like that. I respect that a lot.
Yeah. Also, like, to be fair, like poor Cavill. Like, I'm
Yeah.
fairly sure, given the right director, the right script, the right creative team behind the movie, he could still turn out to be an exceptional Superman.
Oh,
Like,
I believe so.
like he's
highly.
got a strong enough jawline to look heroic, you know, to do the whole, for lack of a better term, Christopher Reeve thing.
And
No,
he
I'm
did
not
some
talking
pretty
about
great
ending
work
up in a wheelchair.
in the Immortals.
Yes.
Like, he did some pretty great hero work there.
Yeah. So I'm fairly sure Henry Cavill could be an exceptional Superman, creative team willing.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, and if you look at the difference between him, like, now and how excited he was when he first got the part.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I honestly, he deserves a better Superman to play. He deserves to be Superman for one thing.
Yeah.
And I'm just hoping against hope that the whole sort of Superman dying and our being reborn is there. I know a lot of people have said it. I don't know how true it is, but that this is sort of their way of rebooting the character.
They're
and
just
going,
gonna
like,
retcon him
let's
and-
actually just make him Superman now. Haha, this was the plan all along. We were always going to give you a real Superman.
You know what they say about hope, though?
It is
Yeah.
the first step on the road to disappointment.
He could really be. I think he could be a great Superman. And I think if they could capture that feeling, maybe Man of Steel 2. Who knows? I'm still coming into Justice League super cautious. And obviously Suicide Squad 2 in my mind is a complete write-off.
Yeah.
Hopefully I'm wrong. But I feel like going forward, I think if they can use Wonder Woman as a template, and they realize like, oh yeah, there's a reason this was so critically and commercially successful. We hope.
Yeah, I'm still just not looking forward to seeing Henry Cavill in a black suit with a mullet. Because
I doubt they do that though.
look,
Snyder likes doing that.
Snyder does love doing that.
That's
Like,
sorry,
he
as
made-
soon
But
as,
do you
as,
think
soon
he'd
as the
really
words
go that
left my
far?
mouth, I realized like Snyder likes pictures.
Yes.
And he likes making,
And he
the
likes making
pictures
it look
into-
exactly like it was in the
Yeah.
comics.
Yeah.
Even if it doesn't really work in real life,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
like Batman's armor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Snyder's a cinematographer and should stick to that.
Well, he's got potential. He just needs help.
No, he needs moderation.
Yeah, he needs people between him and the film.
Lots
Definitely.
of people.
Yeah. Oh, Zack Snyder.
Oh, Zack Snyder.
Yeah.
We
That's
want
cool,
to
that's-
love you, Zach.
My-
Let
my-
us love you.
My only
Just let us. Come on.
my
No.
only fear in this whole thing is that it's that endless promise that you get with franchises. You often see it in game franchises where it's like, cool, we've learned from the mistakes of the last one that people had issues with. It's all going to be, but actually more so bands with their albums. You know? The album drops, they're hyping it up, this is our greatest work ever, the fans hate it, they tour behind it, they make their money off the hype, and then before the next album comes out, they're like, yeah, no, we realized we made some missteps with the last one, but this one is a return to the roots.
Yeah.
And it kind of
kinda
feels like that, but maybe he saw a cut of Justice League, like an updated cut, and he's like, oh, okay, cool, this works now.
Yeah, I'm just always hopeful that they're gonna get Superman right.
Yeah.
I really am.
Please do. If Superman is right, I can even do, maybe not with such a murdery Batman or precog Batman, but I can do with a darker, really cynical, older Batman or whatever who's fucking sick of it all. I can deal with that.
Yeah.
If you've got a proper Superman to contrast him with.
Yeah.
Yeah,
If you've
absolutely.
got like the world is a wonderful place. Look at me, I'm beaming Superman against Batman's just like fuck off, I'm drunk.
Yeah,
Yeah, that
that's
works.
fine. I'm
Yeah.
fine, but there has to be contrast.
Yeah.
They can't be trying to outsulk each other.
Yeah.
Well, for our last story tonight, and this gets me excited for a home release version, the original cut of Blade Runner 2049
Yeah?
was 4 hours long.
Woo, baby! Give me more, give me more.
Yeah,
give
it
me...
was gonna have like a little pee break in the middle for the week.
Oh, that's
for
that's what they did when they originally
casuals.
released Titanic. I remember Titanic had an intermission.
Really?
Yeah, when it showed in the cinemas.
Yeah, it showed this is about 2 years ago, was it?
Titanic.
No, the re-release.
No, the original release of
The original
Titanic.
release in
we went
99.
as a family, I remember, and I
Oh.
remember there being an intermission.
Really?
Yeah,
Yeah, because
So-
people weren't used to
they were gonna
films being that long
Yeah.
yet.
they were gonna split it just where Kay loses his virginity,
Yeah?
like just there. So the first half starts with the eye, and the second half would also start with an eye opening.
Okay.
That's beautiful.
Nice.
I love it already.
Yeah, I want that in my life.
So I'm excited for
I can't
for,
wait
I
for
guess
the-
the extended edition of a Warner Brothers movie.
Well, it's the extended edition of an outstanding Warner Brothers movie.
True. But
Yeah.
I'm excited to see what, because I mean everything in that movie was perfect.
Yeah,
There was not
there,
one.
There was no point where I felt like, hey, they've skimped on something.
Well, remember
Yeah.
this. It was also heavily publicized before release that the version that we got is the director's cut.
Yes.
Like,
Yeah,
I mean,
There's
a lot
a
of
new-
he was
had-
happy with
that's
everything.
that's a
that
good
was in it,
point
yeah.
because a lot of films are several hours in their initial cut because you film
you film
Yeah.
a lot.
hundreds of hours of footage.
But it was their initial plan to release it
yeah.
as a 4-hour thing with a
Oh,
break in the
really?
middle.
Yeah. But I think they then realized that
I mean, they're already
This movie's going to be tough enough
part
to
of
sell at the box office.
part of the reason that they lost as much money, or not lost money, but that they didn't do as well as they should have. One of the factors was that because it's such a long film, there were fewer screenings.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they were gonna have like 2 separate titles for each half, and the first one was gonna be like Kay discovering who he is
Yeah.
in the first half, and then in the second half, discovering how to be human.
That's nice.
That is.
Yeah.
I really
So
hope
it's
they.
a really nice
I really
symmetry
hope
that
they.
they had going
So
there.
is there word on whether that cut will be available or
I don't know if it's going out to the presses now that there was it will be available
maybe they're
at some
gauging
point.
maybe they're gauging reaction, and I hope not that they're not looking at social media because I can only imagine that most of social media would be, oh, the film was already too long.
Blade Runner was
it was
stupid.
already too long and too boring. I don't want to see 4 fucking hours
There
of
weren't
this
enough
shit.
robot boobs.
Assholes.
But no, that,
I wanted more sex. Why wasn't there only with the one the sex?
Where were the transforming robots?
Where were the guns? Where was the explosions?
Who was the old guy near the end? Why was Han Solo in this? He's
Why
dead.
did
He died!
Why did he have a dog that wasn't Chewbacca? This doesn't make sense.
Pre-order cancelled.
yeah, but to end on a positive note, fuck yes.
Yeah,
I want
Absolutely.
a 4-hour
if
version.
that happens, I'm down like
If
a
a
clown.
4-hour cut becomes available, I will buy it on Blu-ray.
It would actually be
Yeah.
amazing. What I would love is if they could they could pair it, Warner Brothers, like a 4-hour cut of Blade Runner 2049, double side. You know where they used to do with
Yeah.
LPs, double side with a 4-hour cut of Geostorm,
Now you have
need that
me
extended-
interested.
and then you start realizing the parallels and that they're actually part of a shared universe.
Oh my god.
You had
oh
my
God.
interest, sir, but now you have my attention.
Fine
I was
money.
gonna say, but now you have my disdain.
All right,
Nice,
so that's gonna do it for the news this week.
interesting news.
Recommendations are up.
All right.
Okay, so my cinema recommendation.
You utter cock. What is it, Jason?
It's twofold.
What's
My
your
cinema
cinema
recommendation
recommendation?
is a movie I went to go and see with my wife Martina earlier this week.
This all sounds really familiar.
It's Happy Death Day.
Wow, tell us about it, Jason.
Sure. Well, it's a really fun Blumhouse movie.
Yeah?
That it takes a lot
What?
of traditional kind of slasher stuff, but also updates it and mixes it with really good comedy and acting.
And maybe something reminiscent of Groundhog Day, perhaps?
Yeah, it does. It's essentially murdery Groundhog Day.
Wow.
That sounds
do
great.
they have a joke referencing it where one of the characters professes to have never seen Groundhog Day and it's a hilarious moment?
Who
Yes!
knows?
Yes, they do!
I'm glad that story had a
Thank
happy
you for
ending.
that recommendation.
Thanks, Jason. I'll certainly check it out.
Yeah.
But I'll do it alone.
You won't take your wife Martina to go watch
Absolutely
it.
not.
Okay, Dion, your...
Yeah, my recommendation is Atomic Blonde, which I think we've spoken. That was one of the aired episodes, wasn't it?
No, I think it was unaired.
Didn't we?
No,
Was
it
an unaired pilot. Well, it
Yeah.
was really good, and we all really enjoyed it, and you should watch it. I'll definitely be rewatching it, and I'll be going. What was your movie again, Jason? Happy
Happy
Tyrese.
Tyrese Day.
Happy Tyrese Geostorm
I'll
Day.
definitely be checking that out. That sounds really interesting. Cock. Yeah.
Marcus.
All right, on
Streaming.
Netflix. It's been there a couple of weeks, but I glossed it over initially, and then the wife and I watched it last weekend. Actually,
Your wife, Martina.
my wife. Yes.
All wives are just called Martina.
The amount of wives in this group is impressive.
Yeah,
not
it
bad.
is. The Babysitter.
Yeah.
It is a. Okay, firstly, don't be put off. It was
Is this
direct.
the Vin Diesel?
No.
Okay, good,
No.
'cause I
It
was gonna
was.
say-
It was directed by McGee,
Who?
the guy that directed Charlie's Angels and
Yeah.
Full Throttle. Like, he's been out of work. He's not really a good
He
director.
pops up every now and then. He's mediocre.
He's mediocre at best, which is why I was surprised by this movie. Think of. It's basically a very murdery Home Alone.
Home Alone was
so
already
Home Alone.
murdery.
Home Alone was already pretty murdery.
No, I'm talking about on-screen murder.
Oh, not those off-screen.
Not
murders
like
that
not
happen.
die
The-
from cerebral hemorrhage
No,
like 3
no.
days
The
later.
basic premise is, and they give it away in all the marketing. This kid falls in love with his babysitter. Turns out she's not who she seems to be, and hilarity ensues. And that's it.
Cool.
Cool.
I'm definitely gonna check it out, which is why. I
Yeah,
wanna listen to that.
R-rated hilarity.
Nice.
It's actually very entertaining. It's not good. It's just entertaining.
Great.
Fair.
I'll check it out.
Yeah.
Thomas, as our B movie expert, anything you can recommend?
Anything new or anything I can recommend?
Anything you
Anything.
can recommend?
Well, as always, to anyone who will listen, really, I would suggest checking out all the works of Neil Breen, because
Not
he-
all at once. That's
no,
dangerous.
definitely all at once.
Who's Neil Breen?
Who's Neil Breen, you say? Well, I'm glad you asked. Neil Breen is a realtor turned filmmaker, writer, director, producer, and caterer.
Sounds like quality stuff.
If you like hackers,
Yes.
deserts,
Mm-hmm.
and women in films being very uncomfortable,
Those are the three things that I like the most.
Then you will love Neil Breen.
Because
Wow.
those are in all of his movies.
Because that's all he's got. Oh, and you hate the government. You gotta hate the
Oh,
government.
always.
Oh, down
Yeah,
with the
down
government.
with those
Who
people.
who doesn't hate the government?
Then check out Neil Breen.
Wait,
will.
is Geostorm a Neil Breen movie?
No, but if
It has
you,
all those things.
That's all those things.
but if you do want a new B-grade release, check out Asylum's version of Geostorm. It's already out.
What? Wait, how can it be? How can they be an asylum? Isn't Geostorm already?
Oh no! They were just one of the parent producing companies. This is the Asylum original ripoff.
Oh. What's it
Like,
called?
how could it?
How could it
they
be
push
worse?
It any further?
Is it called Tectonic Coppola?
No, it's called. I think it is.
Global Storm.
It is actually called Global Storm. You're right. Thank you, Jason.
Okay, I'm downloading.
made that up on the
I
spot
mean,
and I
buying
want that.
immediately. I'm purchasing that.
I've got it for you.
Yes,
Borrow it.
please. Thank you. Yes, please. It sounds like
we can watch that and
at Geostorm
Geostorm.
and try and pick. We should. What we should actually do is we should show them each to somebody. We should say like,
Which is the
okay,
major
which
release?
of these? Just skip the title cards at the beginning. Which of these is like the ridiculous satire one?
No one would know.
No one would know.
All right, plugs for this week, Dion.
In my butt.
Hey yo!
Ayo, fresh. Keeping it fresh. All right, plug for this week is you can follow me on Twitter if for whatever reason I don't ever tweet. I'll occasionally retweet game stuff I'm working on, and that's about the end of it. At Dion Van Hidden 1, because some idiot with a terrible name got there first. See, keep my material fresh.
There we go.
Yeah,
Comedy's about repetition.
that's what it is. It is.
Marcus.
Yeah. You can follow me on at Viking of Science on Twitter. You can also follow my YouTube channel at Escape from Mount Backlog on Twitter. Head over to the YouTube channel and watch some videos. I just did a first impressions this past Friday of
Do it in the backlog voice.
this week. I just did a look back at, or not really a look back, more of a spoiler-free review of Wolfenstein 2: The New Colossus.
Really good video. I learned a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was actually. a good one.
Yeah, it's been doing well for me. Check it out. Give it a watch. Give it a like. Throw me a subscribe. Because once I hit 100 subscribers, something magical happens.
You're gonna take your shirt off on the radio.
Yes, I will do that because by that time it'll probably be high summer.
Marcus's nips live on the internet. You heard it here first.
Yeah. And that's it.
Thomas, anything you
Thomas?
want to plug?
I have a Twitter account.
What's your Twitter account?
Totalitarian Tom.
At totalitarian
at
Tom.
Totalitarian.
At totalitarian Tom.
Yeah.
A totalitarian Tom.
I retweet this show
Wow.
and video game news and movie news that I find interesting.
Nice.
That's
You are
about
more
it.
active than I
I know
myself.
I am. As one of your two
It's-
subscribers, I know this.
It's really interesting.
Calling me
that
out for
he's
not
the,
subscribing to you, even though I was.
You
that he's the one that's
I did
body negative
afterwards.
despite being so active.
Yeah.
Really weird.
I'm
All
a
right.
man of contradictions.
Okay, you could, as always, you can follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Podiant. All the links are down in the description below. And yeah, we're pretty awesome humans. We're gonna call it there and go have a crabbies.
Crabbies!
Crabs.
Cheers.